Hello, this is Professor Mikey, CompTIA A plus 2201001, Objective 1.1 Laptop Hardware. These lecture notes are credited to James Messer. As a technician, you'll find that troubleshooting problems with a laptop can be challenging. These are very unique computing environments that are specifically designed to fit a particular form factor. And because of that, it can be a very challenging repair if you need to get inside of that device and make a change. You might often find as you look at laptops from different manufacturers that some laptops tend to be easier to repair than others. You'll often become very knowledgeable in one particular manufacturer's laptops because that's the one your organization tends to purchase the most. And you'll find over time you'll become much more comfortable with repairing those particular brands of laptops. Many laptop manufacturers will provide service information so you can learn more about the repair process. Many of the battery technologies we use today are lithium-ion or lithium-ion polymer. These batteries are designed to be fully charged. You can discharge some of the battery and charge it back up again without worrying that you're causing a memory effect or limiting the amount of capacity the battery might have. However, each time you charge the battery, it diminishes the capacity just a bit. So after a number of years, you may find that you have to replace the battery because it's not able to maintain the charge that it once did. Because laptops have a very specific form factor, you'll find that the batteries used in these laptops are very specific to a particular make and model of laptop. So if you're purchasing a new battery for a laptop, make sure you're purchasing it specifically for that particular device. Here's an example of a very modular battery configuration on the back of a laptop. Underneath the empty space, you can see that it will slide and lock into place. You can unlock the battery and switch back and pull it out. Replace it with a new one. That means if you're traveling and your battery runs out, if you have another one charged, you can slide it in and you're good to go. The keyboard is probably the most used component of a laptop. It is our primary input into the operating system, and unfortunately it is a very easy component to replace. There's a single device that's usually connected with a ribbon cable to the main part of the laptop. This is the back of the laptop keyboard, and you can see there is a single ribbon cable that's used to connect and disconnect from the laptop motherboard. You do have the option on many laptops to plug in an external keyboard to a USB interface. So if you're running into problems with your integrated keyboard, you can use another one and troubleshoot. Because these laptops are mobile, we tend to sometimes have things fall within the keyboard itself, or the keycaps themselves might be damaged and we might have to replace them. These keycaps, though, are very fragile, so make sure you check with the manufacturer's instructions and follow exactly what they recommend when changing anything with that keyboard. You don't want to break any part of the keycap itself when you're removing it or replacing it back onto the laptop. And you want to be sure that the mechanics underneath are not damaged at all. This picture shows how delicate these tiny little plastic pieces are underneath the keycaps. So you want to be very, very careful when you're doing any type of maintenance with the laptop keyboard. All of these programs that are executing in your operating system are executing in memory. And if we ever need to increase the amount of memory in our laptop, then we'll probably want to use SODIMM or the small outline dual inline memory module. This form factor is very common for laptops and other mobile devices, and often there is a window or an opening at the bottom of the laptop that allows you to easily add and remove these memory modules. Some laptop manufacturers have decided not to create a modular way to change the memory. In that case, The memory they use is not a SODIMM module, but it's physically soldered onto the motherboard itself. So that means if you have a problem with the memory or you want to upgrade it, you have to change the entire motherboard. Here's a picture of a SODIMM. This one in context with everything around it. So you can see that is relatively small memory module, especially when you compare it to larger regular DIMMs from desktops. Our laptops also need some type of storage space so that we can retrieve or save files to that system. Older laptops might have storage in the form of a magnetic disk. This is the hard drive that we traditionally think about. These are spinning physical drives, but they're in a form factor that's around 2.5 inches. This 2.5-inch form factor works well for these portable platforms, especially when you compare it to 3.5 physical hard drives from a desktop. Many newer laptops will instead have solid-state drives or SSDs instead of spinning hard drives. As the name implies, a solid-state drive is solid state. There is no moving part inside of it. Even though the SSD shown here in this picture looks identical, they are not the same. This makes it very easy to perform an upgrade. You can unplug the drive, plug it back in, and you can swap it easily. There's also another interface available called M.2. If you need to replace or upgrade the storage that's inside of your laptop, you may find that everything is internal to the laptop and you have to open the entire back to gain access to the bay. Or there may be a window or an opening on the side. Every laptop's a bit different. Whether these are drives that are inside of the laptop or they're accessible from a cover on the back, they're relatively easy to replace. There are probably a few screws you will remove and a SATA cable, and you would just reconnect them. If you're connecting to a M.2 interface, then it's even easier. It's just a single screw, and you pop it in, you screw it in, and you're done. Because the performance of a system can be improved dramatically by replacing a spinning drive with an SSD, it's very common to perform these migrations and move an operating system from an existing spinning hard drive to a new SSD on these laptops. You can do this in a number of different ways. One common way to do this is to install an operating system on the SSD itself and simply migrate and back up data, documents, and applications for that user. A more elegant way is to clone or image the drive. That means you don't have to install the operating system. You just move the image from one system to the other and it copies and you're done. To perform this migration, you'll need software that can create the image on the hard drive and move that copy or image onto the SSD. There's a number of applications that can do this. You can also perform a drive-to-drive image where there's no intermediary image file. You're simply taking everything from one system, copying it sector by sector to the other drive, filling it up with ones and zeros. On many newer laptops, you may find that wireless functionality using 802.11 or Bluetooth connections are built into the system board or motherboard of that laptop. Older laptops may include mini PCI or mini PCI Express interfaces so that you can add additional wireless connectivity. For example, you could plug in one of these cards and you might have 802.11 access that will provide you with local area network coverage or a wireless network. Or it could be a Bluetooth connection sent over a personal area network to earpieces, speakers, or other Bluetooth components. And you can see right here on the bottom right, there are two mini PCI, and there's a PCI Express interface as well. You use these for wireless local area networks, personal area networks, Our newer operating systems may provide us with additional authentication options, which can really be useful on a laptop computer. Instead of typing your password to gain access to the system, you could use biometrics. Our operating system can look at our face, it can look at our fingerprint, and be able to determine if it's really us and if we should gain access to that system. You'll find you'll need some type of hardware that can provide either the view of your face or the view of your finger so that you can determine it's really you wanting to access the laptop. Since it's difficult to duplicate your face or your fingerprint, these are relatively secure ways of authenticating into your laptop. We're also seeing NFC, or near field communication, being used more and more with laptops. It's a technology we've been using for quite some time on our mobile devices. Now we're starting to see it integrated into our laptop systems. This allows us to transfer data or perform authentication to the device without physically touching the device. If you're in a store and you paid during your checkout with your phone or watch, then you're using NFC. But you could also use your phone or watch to authenticate to the laptop. This is great if you're working in a hospital or a warehouse where you have to move around a lot while you're working. You may need to quickly authenticate from time to time as you walk around. By using your phone or watch, you're able to provide that authentication without having to touch anything else on the system, input any extra passwords, and quickly gain access to the operating system. Here are the objectives for 1.1 laptop hardware that we reviewed today. Thank you for watching.